Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. You know what, folks? This is interesting. This whole week, after that guy, that rich Smith guy, the billionaire, gave a whole lot of money to Morehouse. Everybody was, oh, that is so great. He gave these great pieces of money to a whole lot of guys who are going to have their student loans paid off. And everybody is ecstatic about it. And you know me, I'm the pooper. So I was not, how should I put this? I was not the most ecstatic about it. And a lot of people accuse me of, what's the word that they say? They accuse me of being, oh, you're just throwing cold water. There you go again, Egberto. The second part of our show today, that is what we're going to cover. I met a whole lot of you guys in Facebook who really let me have it. I hope you're here today because I want to talk to you. Be there. Let's engage. But it's important that we see things for what they really are. It is important that we do these things. It is so important that we are also honest about it. But before we get started, we know, before I get it, there's another issue I want to talk about. Nancy Pelosi went to the White House today, and Donald Trump did that great grandstanding again, and he kept them in his Oval Office for 3 minutes, and he walked outside with graphics prepared and said, there is no legislation unless you guys stop this impeachment crap. And Nancy Pelosi and her senatorial protege goes out and says, well, he doesn't want to work for the infrastructure. No idea how grandstanding PR functions. That is why. But, so they screwed up in the way they responded to his grandstanding. But I want to tell you guys something. There is this young woman, I think she's from Michigan or one of those Midwestern states. Her name is Katie Porter. I'm going to have a little video from Katie Porter. This is a video every Democrat should see. Know your stuff and know when they place a camera in front of you, get as much of what you have to say said. That is how it's done. And so I'm going to show you guys that video in the second segment. But to start, today is Wednesday, the second Wednesday, and you know who we've got today? Tamara whom again? Tamara Shealey. How are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, Egberto. How are you this afternoon?
I am doing fine, and I'm absolutely sure I know what your topic is going to be today. So what I want to do, first of all, is just say, my dear, the floor is yours.
We're going to talk about those abortion bills, Egberto. It's just pretty sad.
Give me some volume, Tamara.
It's just pretty sad that Egberto, across this nation, we women are still fighting for the right to control our own bodies in this country, and to have bills that are, ultimately that could possibly overturn Roe versus Wade. It's a pretty scary time that we're living in, Egberto.
Now, as it turns out, your state was actually one of the states that passed a draconian abortion bill. Well, I shouldn't call it abortion. Well, whatever you want to call it. I think it was one of those states that passed it. I think it was Georgia, Missouri, and Alabama, and I think we have more on the way.
Mm-hmm. We're always on the wrong side of history, Egberto.
Well, I don't know. I think Georgia is on its. I think Georgia is our next blue state. I think Georgia may turn blue before Texas, or maybe they do it at the same time. I don't know. Texas is already blue, but they just don't vote blue.
But we're hopeful. We're hopeful. We're watching Stacey Abrams. I've been watching her. She did put out an announcement that possibly she might make a decision in the fall. So
Well,
we're
I know.
hopeful.
I keep getting those texts from you that you constantly say, "You see, I was right. You see, I was right. You see,
No,
I was right."
I'm saying, Egberto, let's pay attention. Pay attention because I do not believe she is completely out of the, you know, I don't believe she's out of the way. I think she may really consider throwing her hat in and running for the presidency of these United States.
Well, I don't know, Tamara. I want her to keep doing what she's doing. I am concerned about what's.
What is that? Like you mean like as far as the voter
I think we need a yeah. I think we need a strong advocate who understands Georgia, who understands Florida, who understands Texas, and what's going on with the vote in these states, and somebody who is an intelligent spokesperson for it. And I think she is most intelligent to do that. However, if she goes into the presidential race, I have a feeling she's just going to be one other candidate that's going to be hidden. I know you don't
Absolutely
feel
not.
that way, but it's okay.
Absolutely not, Egberto. I think that Cory Booker and Kamala, I think they have some challenges with the Black community, and I think having someone like Stacey Abrams, who, if she gets on that ticket, it will be a whole different demographic that she will ignite. So I think that there will be a lot of excitement behind her, and I have a hashtag for her, and it's Run Stacey Run.
Well, you know what? The truth of the matter is, I don't care. All I want to make sure that we get is a progressive Democrat running. I don't want Biden. I don't want Klobuchar. I don't want Bennett. I can tell you, those are the people I don't want. The only people that are currently on my list are Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Warren. Those are the three on my list right now that I am supporting. If Stacey were to get into the race, of course she would be the fourth on the list. I'm still sort of examining Tulsi Gabbard right now, but I'm not sure about Tulsi either because I think she was anti-choice at one time. So I don't quite believe, I don't know where her real loyalties lie. If she has a real progressive, if she's really a progressive or not. So we'll see. But going back to the abortion issue, tell me what it is that we should do. I did a program on it about three programs ago, and it went very well. Several women actually called in, and they said their piece, and I said my little. I try to be reserved on what I say because again, we have to know our boundaries. But I still had a guy that called in and said, "Berto, I think you probably should have been a bit more quiet and let the women say their piece." So.
And I disagree. I think we need men to speak up and be loud and get in the fight honestly ahead of us because they're not listening to us. For these bills to be passed in these states, they're not listening to us. But I think if you men do what you men do and come and have those conversations, I think they would, your voice in this would be much louder than ours.
Oh well, I'm glad. Well, I don't want the voice to be louder. I want the voice to be effective. I don't want necessarily to. I put it this way. I don't want us when we are speaking about it to say the wrong things. I mean, and that is always the issue when you're getting into these points.
But men, you guys speak. You guys have your own language that you speak amongst.
Well, yeah,
each other.
that's
like
true.
We women, when we get together, we kind of have our way with each other, and I think you men would be much more effective than we are right now as women because they're not listening to us at all.
It was scary to see that discussion. I think it was on the Missouri floor where that woman interrogated that guy and asked him, have you ever known anybody that's had an abortion? Have you ever had to deal with somebody who raped you? That sort of a thing. And the one question that she asked him that really kind of touched me, really, when I heard it, it was like, wow, what kind of a burden are you telling women that they must have because some guy tell you must? A woman is raped, and every day that she's nurturing that kid in her womb, for her to have to say this was the product of a rape, it's like reminding her of the rape day in and day out. And we have laws now that are telling women that they must do that. I just can't understand how a woman governor signed a law like that. I can't understand how a woman senator placed that into, proposed that bill into their Congress.
It's and the psychological damage that it does. I can just tell you, I've carried 2 babies, and full term, and I just know every day of your life you have this human that is growing inside of you, and this is and to have been raped, like you said, Egberto, and have to live with that every single day for 9 months, 40 weeks, really 10 months, honestly. That's a long time to have to, and then to deliver a child that you didn't, that wasn't planned for, or like you said, you were raped. That is not a decision that men get. You don't get to make that decision. So I'm sure all of us women, we're going to fight this every step of the way, but we need men to really get on the forefront of this and have those conversations with men that won't hear us as women.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a must. So anyhow, Tamara, we're 11 minutes in. Why don't you still have a few minutes with me? Why don't you tell me what's up, what's on your mind? I know today was sort of a difficult day for you, but what's on your mind? What do we need to work on, etc.?
I think we just need to really kind of continue to be politically engaged. I know it's the summer months, and I know a lot of us, get caught up in, vacations and weddings and graduations. And congratulations to all those graduates across this country, as you were mentioning, the Morehouse men that are now debt free. That opens the door for these men to come out and be able to buy homes, really get established in their careers, and not have the financial burden of a bill every month for 10, 15, 20 years or so. This is an opportunity for them to be a step ahead and hopefully give back. So I'm not quite sure why, Egberto, you feel like that wasn't you didn't agree with that. Maybe you'll explain that in the second half.
Yeah, I check into the show next time, because after I'm done with you, we're gonna really get into that, because it has very little to do with it being a gift, and more to do with why we had to give the gift. In other words, I wanted to take it, and this is a bit more complex in where I wanted to take it. I wanted folks to stop getting real happy when they see billionaires doing a good thing. They're giving money. Oh, wow, they gave some money, and not look at the underlying issues that make this country a country where these things are necessary. Because I think what happened, well, I'm not going to get into that now.
Well, you think it might be, are you looking at the fact that he's probably going to get some sort of tax credit for this gift? So he, of
course. It's not only that, it's the tax credit, and not only that, you know what he does, right? He's a financial analyst, not stockbroker, but he developed companies and that sort of a thing, right? That I didn't know him, okay? I didn't know of him. I went ahead and did a lot of research on him and found out that this guy has an average return on investment of 22% for his clients. Do you know how many? A lot of people didn't know that. Do you know how many people are going to hear that and say, wow, this guy does 22% return on his investment? I want to be with this guy. Of course he's going to make a killing from this. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. People say, okay, well, he invested it's going to cost him about $40 million for all those kids. My thing is, yes, it's going to cost him $40 million, but the amount of money that he's going to recover is going to be that much more. But that isn't even what has me concerned about the issue. The issue is even deeper than that, because I honestly think he did a good thing. Not only did he did a good thing, I think his heart was probably in the right place. But his heart was also in the right place because the tax advantage would be in the right place, and because the additional business would be in the right place.
So it was a business. So you don't like it because you see that it was a business move. It wasn't philanthropy. He wasn't just giving back. It was a business deal out in the open. It was publicity. So that's.
Like I told folks, if you really wanted to make a deal, the guy is worth $5 billion. When you give till it hurt. When I decided to go full-time activism, I gave up a company. Okay? That's real. This guy gave $40 million of $5 billion, of which he's going to get a tax credit. Trump gave him a huge tax break. and somehow that is, all the guy's doing is giving back to society what they've taken out after the Trump tax break. The people who had $5 billion got over $100 million back. Okay, so he's given back 40 million of that 100 million he got back, and then he take a tax break off of that, and he loaned the government some more money, and then he gets, but it's not that he's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. He's doing everything legally, and he's using the system to help others. But at the same token, he's not using the system to make less money.
But he wasn't the first one to do this. I think I mean
Langone.
Yeah.
Yes, Langone in New York. I spoke about that in my blog as well. So that is what I'm going to talk about.
So when people see you, a black man, Egberto, kind of, and there was something in your when you opened, like what people were calling you. We call that being a hater.
Right, I know. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So I know, right? So when people see you, a black man, hating on this black man that did something that positive, I think that kind of throws people off as well.
Let me tell you something about that, because I think that's an important topic. And folks, stick with me. I want to finish this topic with Tamara, and then I want you guys to stick with me. It's important what we're going to talk about. I show that I'm an equal opportunity offender, right? Let me tell you what I mean by that. The status quo right now says, if you're in a black district, you run a black candidate and they elect a black person. If you're in a white district, a black candidate need not apply, or a Latino candidate need not apply. Or if you're a black person, they just want you to talk black issues. Or if you're white, or I blow that out of the water, because I don't. Somebody's color is not going to get me to decide. But the same hit that I put on him, I've already put on Langone. I've already put on Oprah and all these other billionaires. Because what I try to teach people, or what I try to enlighten people about, is that the color in this country, after you've reached a certain level, has little to do with your hue, your complexion, your color. It has everything to do with green. So if you think Oprah is going to stand by your side on any economic issue, if you think Langone is going to stand on your side on any economic issue, they won't. They are all plutocrats. And when we understand that these guys have their own club, and that you are not a member and will never be a member unless they invite you in, then at that point, you are not them. You have more in common with your white racist friend than you do with Oprah Winfrey. I can guarantee a lot of people fail to understand that, and that is why we stay in the condition we're in. So I'm going to ask you, Tamara, you stay tuned to the show after this, because I'm going to really hit it up. I 4 minutes into it, I'm going to hit it up. I first have to touch on Katie Porter, and then I have to touch on Nancy Pelosi, and then I'm going to really get into this subject. So I hope you stay with it. And then you can give me a shot and say, you hater.
Because that's what they're calling you right now, Egberto, a hater.
They've called me. Hey, that's that's nice. I actually, when they call me a hater, it's better. The things that I've heard, the things that people have called me, the things that they've written to me, the things that they've mailed to me. It's like, okay, hater, I can handle that one. That's better than getting the magazine letters cut out, pasted on sheets, and mailed to your address. It's like, oh, you actually know where I live too? Dang.
Have you gotten it, Egberto?
You go to my website and search for email. Search for email. Just click on in my website, search email. I put all my hate mail. Search for hate mail. I have gotten a ton of hate mail.
Well, this is why anybody that's watching this broadcast, they must support independent media. So if you are not a Patreon, they got to come on. They got to support you. Patreon, is that where it is, Egberto? Patreon?
It's at patreon.com/politics done right.
Yes, because you know what? Your life is really on the line here. It's not just you doing this every day for the sake of just doing something. You really are putting your life on the line for the sake of empowering and educating all of us. So I appreciate all you do.
That's what we do. That's what all of us do. All of us that are on this platform do it. And by the way, next week I'm starting one of these shows in Spanish with somebody that I met from Panama. So you're going to see this completely in Spanish as well, so you can put your translators on. But anyhow, Tamara, it's a pleasure as usual having you here every Wednesday. We're 20 minutes into the hour. Thank you so kindly for being here. Give me some closing remarks and remind folks about how they can see those. First of all, your two shows.
Yeah, so we are on Facebook and YouTube. Tamara for Georgia every Friday at 11 a.m. And Egberto comes on and gives us a national political update. It is myself, it is Robbie Caban, and it is David Slavin. And we talk all things Georgia, Georgia politics, race, racism, race relationships, race relations, and national politics with Egberto Willies. So join us every Friday at 11 a.m. I am Tamara Shealey.
You have another show.
I do. And actually we are launching we kind of put a pause on the second show, Egberto, that we do on Tuesdays, because we're getting ready to launch The Rational Conservative. So stay tuned.
Oh, that's the one you were telling me about before. Excellent. Well, we're going to have to talk a little bit more about that offline. But Tamara, thank you so kindly for being here. And we'll talk again pretty darn soon. You keep up the good work until... keep watching. The show is going to get hot.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear what you're going to say, hater.
All right. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for being here. Folks, now we are going to continue with the other section of the show. And this is, as you can see, Tamara just called me a hater. And you know, she said, oh, you know, there it is, a black guy giving money to black men in a black school, and you're hating on the guy. No, I'm not doing that. I really am not doing that. Okay, I am not doing that. This is an economic message. It's not a racial message. It's not anything of, it really has nothing to do with race. It doesn't matter who this guy was. I would have done the absolute same thing. But before I get into that, I want to tell you guys something. Today, Nancy Pelosi went over to the White House along with Schumer. And the two of them, Senator Schumer and Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, went to talk to Trump. Trump had it all orchestrated. He was going to grandstand. They should know that whenever you go to the White House, there's a possibility for a grandstand. You can't allow this to happen over and over again. Of course, they did. It happens over and over again. So Donald Trump walks into the Oval Office and he says, Nancy Pelosi said something about the guys going to cover up, but they went there to discuss infrastructure. He wasn't going to have any of it. He had it well prepared and orchestrated. Goes into the room, say a few words, and walk to hell out of the Oval Office into the Rose Garden and start with panels and things that it shows he was well prepared, shows all kind of graphics that what they've been doing to him, etc., and has a great grandstanding news conference stating in his statement, the Mueller report exonerates me of collusion. It also exonerates me of what do you call obstruction of justice. Of course, that's not true. He didn't tell the story. But that grandstand is what America heard on national TV with graphics. Even though the reporters afterwards say, oh, it's not true. It's not true. The grandstand had already occurred. Now, that's okay. They can't help that. Pelosi can't help that. Schumer can't help that. But what they should have been ready for is grandstanding on their own. They should have walked in there assuming that he was going to do something, and they should have walked in there with those 400 pages and said, America, these are the 400 pages. Your president just told you there is no collusion. On page XYZ it says, bam, 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 bam. On page XYZ it says, bam, 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 bam. The attorney generals, or rather, the Mueller told us that he had to be referred to the Congress. Bam, bam, bam. On page it says that. And likewise, they should have said, in as much as they could not claim collusion, look at how the report starts. Russia influenced our election, and Russia spent a lot of times with people within the Trump administration. They should have had that. They should have had the graphics showing the size of the book. They should have been ready to say, and do remember, there were 30 plus people indicted in this man's campaign. There were these. They should have been so ready, so that as soon as he said that, they were so ready for all these items that come up one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, and then they would have said, but we came here in as much as we think we have a corrupt president. We care about the American people, and what we want to work on right now is infrastructure. Not because the president is corrupt, not because the president is a liar, not because the president or all these things. Can't we work together to do what's right for the American people? They should have been ready for that grandstand. But were they? Absolutely not. They were not. And that is what I tell you. Look, I am no PR person for these guys, okay? But they do have them. And you cannot tell me that there aren't PR people telling them what they need to do and how to do it. You see why we are so enamored with the Katie Porters and the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Ilmar Omar? They know what to do in front of a camera. They know how to get the message that they want to get to you in front of a camera. And what I want to do is I want to show you exactly how it is done. And this has nothing to do now with, this has to do with what I don't remember the secretary that used to be the neurologist. Anyway, he went on CNBC and he said, oh, Katie Porter, I didn't understand what she was saying. She wasn't clear. And that's the reason that is the reason I answered the question about Oreo instead of REO and all that kind of stuff. Here's what she did. She knew she was going to be interviewed on TV. She knew that these segments last between 1.5 minutes and 3 minutes. She knew that. So what Katie Porter did is Katie Porter was ready to answer Ali Velshi's questions, but she wasn't only ready to have that. She was read in what the guy put out there, what the secretary put out there in the ethos, and she was ready to refute it, even though Ali Velshi did not ask her. She was ready to bring the facts on, and I want to show you how it is done. This is how, and this is why I love these young progressive Democrats that are coming in. Ilmar Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Tlaib, and the other one from New York. Can't remember her name right now. But check this out.
Let's turn to another moment in your committee, in front of your committee, that's made some news. During an exchange with the Housing and Urban Development Secretary, Ben Carson, you personally, he was talking to you, he appeared not to understand a basic housing term called real estate owned, which unfortunately is going to be all too familiar to a number of Americans who lost their house in foreclosure. Let's just listen to the exchange.
I'd also like you to get back to me, if you don't mind, to explain the disparity in REO rates. Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo. An REO. REO.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
E organization?
Owned. Real estate owned.
Somebody owned. Somebody.
What do you make of that, though? Because Carson said he was having trouble hearing you. What's your takeaway after having had that exchange yesterday?
I'm sorry, but respectfully, I was very clear in my words. I was using the term REO, and when he couldn't hear me or I thought he was mishearing me, I took pains to politely correct him to spell out the acronym REO. I asked him at that point to be sure we were on the same page so that we could have a productive conversation if he knew what an REO was, and he gave the incorrect answer. An REO is not an organization. It's not a real estate organization. That's not correct. So for Mr. Carson to now go on TV today and say that I'm the one who doesn't know what's going on and he'd be happy to inform me is frankly very rich. I spent more than 10 years in the trenches working with families who were facing foreclosure, listening to their stories, and I want Mr. Carson to take this problem very seriously. He still does not have his facts straight. In his statement today on Fox Business, he claimed that FHA forecloses very quickly when it sells properties very quickly. It does not. The typical time from when FHA forecloses on a property to when that property is stopped being vacant, for when that property is returned to being a habitable home, is over 500 days. So the reality is, in the last 24 hours, while he may have learned what an REO is, he has not learned what's going on in FHA and what he needs to do to lead it successfully.
Representative Katie Porter of California, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Next.
Friend. Okay, that was Ben Carson. Thank you, Tamara, for reminding me of the guy's name, Ben Carson. Now, what I want, again, before I get into the meat of today, I want you to get an understanding of what that woman just did. People would just look at it as, okay, she answered the question. But you look at other Democrats who have answered the questions, they would have answered Ali Velshi, and that's it. This woman did three things. One, she immediately answered the question quickly. Second, she went ahead and pointed out all the places where this guy went over to the CNBC and lied, and she corrected the lie. And third, she gave a narrative, and her narrative, I, this congresswoman, was out there in the field, I saw the people's real pain, and to have a secretary who is not feeling the pain of the people, how can he be competent? So this woman went ahead and laid it out perfectly. Democrats, that's how you do an interview. You answer the question quickly, you correct the misinformation, and then you create the narrative. And creating that narrative is what brings other people onto you, and it makes sure that they see the fallacies coming from the other side, and they see not only that, the incompetence from the other side. Now we get into the meat of, hey guys, I was not, what's the word Tamara used? I was not lying on the guy or hurting on the guy or whatever on the guy, okay? I wasn't hating on the guy. That's the word. I wasn't hating on the guy. I want you to listen to what I said yesterday on KPFT on the issue, and then I'm going to expand a little bit on that. Let me get the graphics here right. I want you to listen to this. It's important. And so is Warren Buffett. Oh, nice guys, right? And then I sit down
what I need to do is I need to start that from the beginning, which is not. I need to get that started from the beginning because apparently I was doing it before. So let's go ahead and start it from the beginning because I need to get it from the beginning. Here we go. Okay, está bien, vámonos. Here we go. I'm watching TV and I saw all the compliments that Mr. Smith was getting about giving the monies to Morehouse. And I remembered several months back when Langone, who was the guy who put all the money together to form Home Depot, I remember when he did the same thing. And I continuously see billionaires do a little something to help a few people, right? And then I had to ask myself, wow, there are so many of these nice guys. Bill Gates is going to give away most of his money, and so is Warren Buffett. Oh, nice guys, right? And then I sit down and I have to start thinking again, these guys are lords. These guys are gods. These guys are the ones who are going to determine who is going to be successful or not based on who and what they're going to give their monies to. What if we had a society? What if we had an economy that didn't depend on the generosity of those who made their monies? And I don't like to say this but I have to say it because some people don't take it in the right context. Billionaires' money is really your excess labor. Whenever a billionaire makes a lot of money under the pretext of his intellect, please remember what that really is. Whenever they make money, they're making money that they don't otherwise pay you in salary. When Amazon Bezos has $160 billion, a lot of that money could have been in higher salaries so that some of his employees didn't go on welfare. But then he can look very nice taking some of that $160 billion and giving it to a whole lot of people and say, hey, see how nice I am? I denied those people who made me the billions, and I decide who I am going to then give it to look good. It is not sour grapes. They are following the rules, and they're breaking no law. I am saying there is an aberration within our economic system that allows that kind of behavior. And then we have been so programmed ourselves into believing that that is how things are, or that's how they're to be. I want to look one step above. I want to look through a different level of indirection. I want you to say, why is it that if we have 10 smart people, that we know that they can't all be successful because of restrictions within our economic model that's going to stop that? Those are the things that I want us to examine. Do I have the answers to all of that? No, I don't. But there are a lot of people that are much smarter than I am, that can actually figure out what the answers are, what an economic model looks like, that really fairly pays folks so that you don't have a Langone, so that you don't have a Smith. Because my contention is, these guys are successful, these guys are smart. They are. But they are not $5 billion and $3 billion smart, respectively. In other words, that money that they have, many of them made by moving around financial instruments. Yes, our laws say that you can make money doing that. But that doesn't mean that that is divine. That doesn't mean that is how it's supposed to be. And those are I want people to explore their levels of thinking. I want people to explore the way we do things. I don't want it to be done in a malicious manner. I don't want it to be done in an envious manner. I don't want it to be done in a selfish manner. I want us to do these things by truly, truly examining how our system works and how can we best improve the system that we continue to have innovation. And by the way, with all the billionaires that are getting created right now, you don't see a lot of innovation.
Friends, please click the button here. Okay, so notice how I ended that. We're getting a hell of a lot more billionaires in the world now, but you know what we're not getting a hell of? A whole lot of new innovation, right? We're sure not, I can give you some simple things. Why does it take so damn long to get a battery that really lasts? Is there some technology that could have been developed if we wanted it to? Yeah. Maybe is there some collusion between the battery maker or something like that? I don't know, but it always behooves me that we can have better batteries. Or, there are a lot of issues that we can look at there. But here's the deal. Here's what I really want to talk to you about. It's really not about hating on Langone. It's not about hating on Bill Gates. It's not about hating on Smith. It is about first of all, why do we have a system where we have to hope that they have it in their hearts to pay off a loan that otherwise would have many in dire straits? We should have an economic model. We should have policy, as let's say Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are talking about, that says we educate everybody not onto, there was a time that you never get K through 12 education. That wasn't something that was a part of society. We understood that we needed that. K through 12 is how you kept the economy going. But now we're saying we also need K through 12 plus 1 through 4, meaning all the way up to bachelor's and sometimes master's and PhD, depending on the field that we're in. Why should you have to pawn your life to get that and then be able to praise some billionaire that came and give it to you? How do these guys become billionaires anyway? And this is a discussion that I also had at Daily Kos. I had it on my site. I had it on Daily Kos. Okay, Renee Upshaw says, hedge fund managers need to pay their taxes, eliminate the earnings cap on Social Security. All of that is true, Renee. And you know what else we need to do, Renee? We also need to remember this. The people who create products, I'm an engineer by training, all right? I design products. And I've created a whole bunch of products, software. You can go to wcscnet.com and see all the products I created out of here. I didn't make $1 billion, but I could have capitalized it. I had some companies that would call every few months and say, hey, why don't we capitalize your product line? In other words, we'll turn your company into a corporation that then we sell stocks out of it, and then you can take it out in stocks, and maybe your software continues selling or not. The financial system is designed that the capital side of it always makes money, or most of the times makes money, but the engineers and all the people downline don't. And that's how Smith, that's how Langone, that's how all those billionaires, including Bill Gates, a nice guy, Bill Gates. Remember, Bill Gates didn't create MS-DOS. Bill Gates bought MS-DOS, modified it, and sold a license to IBM. Oh, he's the great innovator. Bill Gates was not a great coder. He was not a great... Look, when Windows came out, you know what bought my house for me? Changing the software in Windows so that it supported dropping the RTS signal. And wow, corporations needed that in the oil industry. And whoa, I could sell a whole bunch of those. There was a need. I fulfilled the need. What I'm trying to tell you people is this. These guys didn't do anything substantial to be worth that much more than the parents of these guys who are in college right now that can't afford to send their folks and had to take all those loans out. And then when these guys go out there and give the money, it's like, oh, how? And by the way, folks, this is a call-in show. If you want, I would love some of you to call in as well. 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. Any one of you who want to tell me that I'm full of it, I would really, really love to hear from you. If you think I'm full of it, I don't mind. I think the best way to entertain a discussion, the best way for people to change their minds, the best way to entertain the possibility of folks changing their minds is to have a healthy, productive discussion. And what I'm telling you right now is feel free to come on right now and say your piece, because I would love to hear your thoughts on why you think I am wrong. Like I said, the billionaires, and a lot of people, there are two parts to this story right now, right? Let me see what Jacqueline Clue had to say. Jacqueline Clue says, I think what he did is wonderful. The people he helped are the up-and-coming change makers. They will be in position to speak up and make changes in our economic and governmental system. I am 57, raising 3 grandchildren, and have a $46,000 school loan, which is crippling me. Jacqueline, I'm with you. As I already said, these young folks are our future and will make changes that will help everyone. Hopefully. I do respect your opinion and follow you and agree on most everything you say. I also understand where you're coming from on this issue too. I appreciate that. And what I don't want folks, Jacqueline, what I don't want folks to think, right, is I don't want folks to believe that I am speaking out of envy or I am speaking out of somehow just trying to be negative about it, because I do think what he did was good, but here's some other features that somebody told me on Daily Kos. I think it was on Daily Kos that they said, but unfortunately, when he gave this, all the kids, I think there's a sister black school. There's this one that is Morehouse, and I think there's a sister school. I don't remember the name of that school. That's black females only. And somebody on my site wrote, "Wow, look at this. Males again win. Males again win," because he didn't do it for the school with all the women in it, So, by the way, he may see somebody say that and go ahead and give it to the women as well. But I'm just kidding. But here, what I'm saying is the following: we have to not need Mr. Smith. We have to not need Mr. Langone. First of all, my concern with these guys is that they take much more out of the economy than they give back. And let me put this into context perfectly. Mr. Smith is a very good capitalist, a very intelligent capitalist. He learned the system, and he learned how to beat the system more than most. He's one of the best. I looked him up because I wanted to, I hadn't heard of him before, and I wanted to learn a little bit about him and how he made his fortune. And then I found out this guy is so good at figuring out what to invest in that he is returning 22% on the folk that he invests for. And that sounds great. I would love to give, if I had some money to give it to him and say, all right, it's all yours. Make 22% on it, and if you keep 2% of whatever you make, that's fine. That would be excellent, right? Here's the problem. Our economy grows at 2%. Those people who are taking out 22% profit in the economy, meaning 22% appreciation in the economy, that is coming out of you. The economy is one economy growing. If your growth is 22% and the whole economy is growing at 2%, that other growth is coming from everybody else. And these guys are not doing anything wrong. It's just our economy and how it works. And my thing is, when you see the results, when you see the constant, when you see constantly the economic disparity, the income disparity, the wealth disparity, that is the direct result of several people taking out more of the economy than others. And you can say, well, they are the smart ones. No, they're not. No, they're not. If let's say I inherit $50,000 and I gave it to him to go ahead and he turned that 50, every year he makes on that $50,000, every year he's going to make a $10,000 something dollars, and it keeps geometrically increasing, right? I don't have to be smart. I just have to have been lucky to have this guy. Hello, Joseph Sanden. Welcome aboard. I just have to be lucky to have gone to this guy to improve it. So the type of economy that we have does not lend itself for the success of all based on merit. And that, if you read the entire article that I wrote, that is what I try to explain to people. So this guy that is worth $5 billion and Langone worth $3 billion and Bezos worth $160 billion, that doesn't impress, and it should not impress because it isn't their real worth. The people that are working is you. Look at you, Jacqueline. Jacqueline says, oh my God, I have a $46,000 loan. You're 57 years old, Jacqueline. By the way, we're about the same age. And you have done so much more for society, than the amount of money that you owe now. But those bankers took so much interest from you. Those bankers, they are always positive. And by the way, what they're doing again is legal. What they are doing is legal. So I am not trying to say, oh, criminalize what they're doing or anything of that nature. What I'm trying to say is that the economy does not work. Do not look at what Smith did as something other than, oh, it's a good thing, but really he should not have had to do it. We should have had policies that did not necessitate him doing that. And that is where I want us to go. And the way we get there is we learn how the system works. When we learn how the system works, we can start electing people that are not going to be hoodwinked by the capitalists, the bad capitalists, to force us into doing the things that we are supposed to do. Because again, I'm sure, Jacqueline, you work hard. Joseph works hard. All these folks that listen here work hard. They just can't take care of the spoil. So if you want to learn, by the way, I'm going to put a little plug for my show right now. If you want to learn how this system really works and what we can do, consider, please, subscribing to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Everybody who subscribed to my network, to my program, to my show, they get to read all my books online free of charge. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. That is a signature book that still holds true and still talks about how our economy works and what you can do to make a difference. I'm also currently writing the book, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. I'm on my second chapter, which both of them are online right now. I'm writing chapter 3, and I know you guys are tired of hearing me saying I'm up to chapter 3. Eventually, I'm going to get chapter 3, 4, and 5, and those probably going to come right after the other. But anyhow, you can read what's already there online. And of course, you know, I lost a lot of weight, have to stay healthy, can't give those hospitals and doctors all the money. So I wrote the book Lose Weight and Be Fit Now, how I had one time 240 beats. I mean 240. My pressure was 240 over 140. Yes, I was a walking stroke waiting to happen. So that is the other book. And by the way, folks, you know what else? Guess what? I have my cups. If you go to store.politicsdoneright.com, store.politicsdoneright.com, you can get your cup now. You can get your cup for this show. Come on, and when the next time remember, I also bring people onto the show. You may have a good idea that you want to talk about, and just like I brought on Tamara, well, Tamara has her own show as well, but you may want to be on this show. I'll just bring you on, and we can have you sipping your coffee in your Politics Done Right cup. Go to store.politicsdoneright.com. And we also have things like towels there, and we have things like T-shirts, great, nice-looking T-shirts and all of that. If you go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the show. Enough of the spinning of my stuff. But I'd like you to really, please subscribe to politicsdoneright.com. We need your subscriptions badly so that I can continue doing this. I'm going to Netroots in a couple of months or so, where I'm going to be interviewing quite a few of those politicians, activists, and all the likes. Check out what I did last year. I interviewed I think I interviewed 50 different people over those 3 days. Again, folks, go to Patreon, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Anyway, back to the program. So here's what we need to do. The reason I did this show, sort of a corollary to what we did at KPFT on air yesterday, the reason I'm doing this today is I really did get a whole lot of pushback, and I'm still getting pushback online for people who are saying, sour grapes, they don't agree with what I'm saying, and I understand. In fact, I looked at it myself, and I told myself, it really kind of sounds, to some, if you don't know what I talk about all of the time, it could sound like sour grapes. But those of you who know me know it, and my expectation is to explain it. Laura McConney says, the rich play on our emotions to look good. You're right on Egbert. Sadly, it goes right over their heads because they react to emotions and not logic. Thank you so kindly for those words. Michael Rudnin says, 50 plus years of economic stability under Glass-Steagall prevented banksters from gambling with our money. That is so true. And you know what I try to remind folks is that the Glass-Steagall Act wasn't stopped or wasn't signed under some Republican president. It was signed under Bill Clinton. Let's see what else. Who else is here? Para ver lo que voy a tener. Hedge fund managers need to pay their taxes. Yes, they do. And yeah, Bill Carson. Okay, but anyhow, folks, so it is important for us to understand these topics, right? It is not about envy of what this guy did. I love that those students, the 2019 class at Morehouse, got their bills paid off. What about the 2020 class? What about the 2017 class? What about all the other classes going forward? What about all the thousands of universities around this country where all these kids are borrowing like crazy to go to school? And why are they borrowing? And I want to tell you something else. Laura, thank you for being here. You're on YouTube. Let me just say, do a quick reply to Laura. Thank you very much for being here, Laura. Let me tell you something about, because I always tell people this. People say, oh, well, if you want a good job, you need to pay for your university, right? Here's a kicker. Companies need you to build your products. They need you to build your products, okay? The compact that we have is that the state educates you. In other words, they give you a K through 12. You pay a somewhat higher amount. You used to pay just a little fee to get a college degree to give you more knowledge so that the corporations can then hire you to work for them. And we didn't put the individual burden on corporations to educate you because, there's a whole lot of flux. So why not have corporations pay taxes? The taxes go into the fund. The fund bills universities and pays professors and teachers. Pays most of the cost of educating the students. And then that corporations have a steady flow of competent workers. That was the compact, people. But then the corporations they can't get enough. It's about growth, it's about growth, it's about growth. If you have stockholders that always demand growth to get their capital appreciation, they always demand growth to get more dividends. They always demand more growth. You can get growth by not increasing wages as inflation go up. You can get growth by paying less taxes. You can get growth by increasing your prices. You can get growth by doing them all. And that is what they did. They increased prices because they have pricing power. They got tax cuts because they paid off the politicians. Okay? And they also paid you less wages. So they did the trifecta, and that trifecta meant transferring the wealth of people to the stockholder. Why? Because now that they got the tax cuts for the colleges and universities, it meant now you had to borrow to go to the university. As you borrowed to go to the university, guess what else happened, baby? You borrowed to go to the university, and then you had to pay even more when you're paying it back in high interest rates to the banksters. So they make money on both ends. Capitalism. And they programmed us so well to love this thing. And they programmed so many to disparage those who have the guts to speak about it. I will have knives thrown at me. I will get hate letters. I have friends who are good friends who many times, if somebody heard my show and they're sitting down with me at a coffee shop, Starbucks, or wherever, they will be sure to make folks that's talking to me know, oh yeah, but I'm not a socialist. I didn't label myself. These people don't know me other than seeing what I say. And mostly everybody that listens to the analysis that I put out there, the vast majority of people agree. The problem is peer pressure because of the Powell Manifesto putting things into your minds to tell you, you have to toe the line. You have to toe the line. Folks, let's stay strong. Let's stay strong. Let's continue. Let's continue to learn together. Let's continue to elect the right people. For those people who are throwing bombs at you, you socialists, you communists or whatever, let it rub off. Lean in. You know what you are? You are somebody looking out for your brothers and your sisters. You are somebody who wants to do the right thing. Don't let them label it. Let's forget about the labels. Don't let them label it. Let's forget the labels. Let's just go do it. Folks, we need you to support programs like this. This is how we are going to educate folks. This is how we are going to tell people, be strong. This is how we are going to tell people, don't give in to the peer pressure. You be the peer pressure. You be the one that goes out there and say, you know what, we can do this. Damn it, we can do it. We don't have to listen to the fallacies. We don't have to be the ones that says, oh my God, if I say this, I'm going to lose my job. If your job is at stake, be quiet, but be supportive of those of us who are not going to lose the job or those of us doing the job. I tell people several things. You can support these policies whether it puts your job in danger or not. We will protect those of you who want to do their thing but have to do it on the quiet side. It doesn't matter. But we have to change this economy lest the whole damn thing come crumbling down. Right now they're using hate. Hate is the lubricant right now to allow this system to continue running, to prevent it from freezing up. If we can have each other hating, you hating the gay, you hating the black, you hating the white, you hating this, you hating that. You are so taken up with all that hate that you can't see where the real problem is. We are together, brothers and sisters. All of us are the same. Don't fall into the trap. They must have you hating each other. They must have you looking at each other lest they fail. So please consider joining the family. Join this group. Let's be the posse that goes out and say this. Let's propagate the Politics Done Right group. Let's bring up that Politics Done Right group and start getting it filled with people, filled up the way it should. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Join the family. Let's go ahead and make this thing happen. Like I said, you get the book As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. You get to read that online immediately. And likewise, I'm writing the book, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. And, you know, for a little off-politics subject, well, it should be politics too. Lose weight and be fit now. I lost a whole bunch of weight after having blood pressure 240 over 140. Did it. So, folks, I'm coming to the end of the show. And what I want to ask you again is please be a part of Politics Done Right. Please join us. Please subscribe. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That is how we're going to change the world. That is how we're going to make a difference. Don't let anybody fool you. Again, Smith did a good thing, but don't dare consider it a magnanimous thing. We need policy, not benevolence. We need policy, not benevolence. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I'm going to close this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.